So now I begin video number 8, which will cover the boat tour of the Bosphorus Straits. But before I begin that, I did allude to this a little bit earlier about the walk from the Grand Bazaar to the Spice Market, or the walk from the Spice Market to Grand Bazaar. You will definitely have time to do this if you decide to go between the Spice Bazaar and the Grand Bazaar. It is one of the most fascinating walks I have ever done in my life. So basically, what it is, if you're going from the Spice Market to the Grand Bazaar, you're walking up on an incline. And if you're going from the Grand Bazaar to the Spice Market, you'll be going on a decline. But along the way, you will go through a labyrinth of all different types of shops and shopping on either side, jostling with the crowds to walk through. You'll also, depending on which way you go, you might see the old money changers market as well, with men screaming at the top of their lungs with regards to money changing. Obviously, that was the main place for foreign currency exchange and speculation prior to the opening. Obviously prior to the opening of Borsa Istanbul, or the Istanbul Stock Exchange. It's very fascinating. I thoroughly enjoy it. You get a real good sense of real life Turkey doing this walk. It's absolutely fascinating, and it's free. There's no pay. You don't have to pay anything. It's just a matter if you want to walk on an incline or walk on a decline. So I highly recommend that if you're going between the Grand Bazaar and the Spice Market. So now I'm going to give you a review of the Bosphorus, the tour of the Bosphorus Straits. This you have to do on any trip to Istanbul. It is absolutely spectacular. It's worth the time. Now, the thing to keep in mind is that there are the best way to take the Bosphorus Straits tour is to take the tour which is offered by the Şehir Hatları, or the Istanbul City Ferry Service. There are private ferry companies which might give you a 1 or 2 hour tour, short tour. I wouldn't recommend that. I recommend the tour done by the Istanbul City Ferries. They offer a long tour and a short tour. I've never been on the short tour. I've been on the long tour, because the long tour is worth the price. So basically, what you have to do is that to go on the long tour of the Bosphorus Straits boat tour, obviously you have to go to the Eminönü ferries. Now, the problem is that occasionally the location of the ticket office, the three main ferry kind of stops or piers there, basically. Each ferry will go to a different part of the city. So the ticket office for the Bosphorus Straits tour sometimes will change. Sometimes it might be in the first pier, the second pier, the third pier. So you'll have to go ahead of time to figure out which one it is. There will be a sign there which will say, and it's usually on the side of the pier entrance, for the Bosphorus tour. The one thing to keep in mind is that the tour leaves the long tours go twice a day. There's one tour which goes in the morning at 10 a.m. And there's one which goes at 2 in the afternoon. Obviously, during the winter time, it's more advantageous to take the tour in the morning, as compared to the tour in the afternoon, because obviously it'll get um, turn dark at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, uh, and this is a tour which can take half the day. Um, so, for example, if you go on the 10 a.m. tour, you will not return back to Amin Noino until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Um, Subsequently, if you take the 2 p.m. tour, that you're not going to come back until night. Now, if you go during the summer, I've never done this, but hopefully I plan to do it at some point. It would be to take the 2 p.m. tour, where obviously on the return you are going to see one of the most spectacular sights is to see Istanbul at night. Um, Even if you don't get to see it during the long tour, if you take even one of the commuter ferries, let's say going between, going to Katakoy or Üsküdar from Aminoinu, or back from Üsküdar and Katakoy to Aminoinu, it's absolutely spectacular to see Istanbul at night. So um, that'd be one advantage of taking the 2 p.m. Tour, if you want to see that. Now, the tour for the ferry, what it does is that it will go from it will leave Aminoinu basically about 10:30. I think they open you can start to board the ship at about 10. So make sure you get there before, I would say maybe 15 minutes before 10, by about 9:45, so you can first locate the place, the pier where the tickets are being sold and where the ferry will go from. Uh, and then you'll start boarding at 10. What the ferry does is that it will take you all the way up to basically the third Bosphorus bridge, which is the Sultan Selim Bridge, which is the now recently new built third bridge over the Bosphorus Straits. And that is almost at the border of where the Bosphorus Straits end, going into the Black Sea. It'll make stops along the way, picking up passengers, and then it will stop at a small town on the Asian side called Anadolu Kavali. Anadolu Kavali, the Bosphorus, the ferry will stop for about, I think it's about 2 hours. I think I'll allow you to get off. Eat lunch if you want to, have some coffee or dessert. Now, the problem with Anadolu Kavali is that all the restaurants, because it's a tourist area, all the restaurants there are all tourist trap restaurants, so you're kind of stuck. But even with the tourist trap restaurants, you can get a good fish meal at one of these restaurants, sitting along the Bosphorus Straits. So you're kind of stuck there. Then from Anadolu Kavali, it's a non-stop back to Aminoinu. No, but along the way, you get to see sights from the sights of the entire city from the ferry. So you'll get to see Karakoy, Galata. You'll get to see good vantage points of Topkapi Palace from the ferry. You'll be able, if once you go farther, you will be able to see the Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque and Soleimania as well. And then you'll get good views of the Asian side, Beylerbeyli Palace, European side, Dolmabahce Palace, Shiran Palace, as well as once you kind of pass under the Bosphorus Bridge and go towards the second bridge, the Fatih Sultan Mehmet Bridge, what you'll see are both on the European and Asian side, houses built along the Bosphorus Straits. Some of them are kind of older houses called yales. They're made out of wood. Very, very expensive, from my understanding. If one would ever to buy one of those, maybe going millions of dollars, because the view is absolutely spectacular from those houses. So you'll see those dotted along both the Asian and European sides. Now, on the ferry itself, The ferry does, if you want to, does sell snacks, uh, and chai and samit as well. So if you want to, or bottled water and other bottled drinks as well. Uh, so if you get hungry or thirsty along the way, you can buy something on the ferry. Um, Now the ferries are open, so both open and closed. So if you want to sit in the enclosed part, you can, depending on the weather. Obviously, if the weather is nice, you want to sit on the outside so you can see the views of the city. It is worth the price you will pay. And now one thing to keep in mind is that even though it is the Istanbul ferry, um, you cannot use the Istanbul cart um, for the Bosphorus tour. It's a separate ticket, which you're going to have to purchase. So they give the option of a one-way ticket where at Anadolu Cavalli would you will not be able to get back onto the ferry. Uh, so many people will take a bus back to the city. I don't know why you would want to do that, but some people do. But you want to buy the round trip ticket, so at Anadolu Cavalli you can reboard the ferry to take you back to Aminoinu. But this is a must see. Like I said, you must take this tour on a visit to Istanbul. You have to make time to do this. Um, as I mentioned earlier, there are private tour companies which give you a 2 or 3 hour ride around the Bosphorus. Um, you don't want to do that. The other thing which I do want to comment on before I complete this video is that at your hotel or and this will add a little bit other part. I'm kind of deviate as well too. At your hotel and some of the touts and the kind of tourist areas, they will try to sell you tickets for a quote unquote Bosphorus tour for about 2 or 3 hours, where they'll have kind of kitschy um, belly dancing on the ship or kitschy kind of Turkish culture there. I wouldn't waste my and hotel might also sell you this as well, not only for a ship but also for like kind of uh, quote unquote cultural shows, um, which usually involve belly dancing and uh, kind of kitschy displays of Turkish culture. I would not waste my time and money on any of those. I've never done those. I know people who have done it, and it's a total waste of time. Um, uh, they're basically tourist traps. So I would highly advise that you do not purchase any of those uh, entertainment ship tours or entertainment uh, offered by the hotel or kind of touts in the tourist areas. So that is it for this video. The next video I'll focus on the day trip to the Princess Islands. Until then, thank you.